Alright, let's get into it.
Japan's releasing their own UFO files and they're going to be reviewing them on a case-by-case basis, mate. What? May 11th, Chief Cabinet Secretary Minoru Kihara held a press conference after the US released over 160 new UAP videos, including 2 shot right near Japan. Kihara said, and I quote, "I also checked the released footage. Since this is my first time seeing it, I'd like to analyse it thoroughly." He confirmed Japan is gathering and analysing UAP information with great interest, working closely with the United States. And when asked if Japan will release their own UAP videos, he said they'll decide case by case, but only if it doesn't expose their intelligence methods. Now, Japan's come forward and started to talk about that they're actually taking this seriously, and Ukraine came forward as well, releasing some information and then releasing the fact that they are researching and logging UFO UAP activity in and around Ukraine itself as well. So they've got their foot in it. Now other countries will slowly follow in succession with all of this stuff coming out, which is absolutely amazing. Usually it takes one person to kind of take the step and then others follow. But usually when America does something, the world kind of follows that as well, more so in Europe onwards. So yeah, who knows? Interesting times, guys. I can't wait to see what Japan's got. Hopefully the goods.
When I hear things like this, it kind of makes me think Project Bluebeam might be in play now. I know that was a really big conspiracy theory for a while. A lot of people are starting to move away from it, but it may be back on the menu. Let me know what you guys think about this one.
This film crew found out exactly what was going on in Antarctica and then they disappeared. This is one of the craziest things you will ever hear. So if you're not ready for it, just keep on scrolling. Go. In 2002, a film crew from California went to Antarctica on an expedition to explore. Now we've all seen the satellite images of the pyramid in Antarctica and all the other structures that seem to be not necessarily from Antarctica. It's all a giant thing, like, I ain't getting into it. But this crew basically saw what was going on there and thought, oh, something a bit sus over there, let's go and check it out. Now on top of this, at the time there was military reports that the government were flying military personnel down to Antarctica to do stuff. There's nothing there, so what were they doing? Now shortly after this film crew arrived in Antarctica, people heard that they got there, bang, gone. Never to be seen again. They just vanished. Shortly after this, they sent in the actual military and Navy SEALs to go and find them, of course. And this is where it gets messed up. They didn't find the film crew anywhere. They looked literally over loads of it, but they found this derelict barn and house, which looked like it had had people there. And inside was a tape. Trust me when I say, this is just the tip of the iceberg. When they took the tape and they actually played it, the military and the Navy SEALs were just absolutely baffled. And there's people that have come out about this saying what they saw was just nuts. On this tape was what the film crew had actually documented before vanishing. There was evidence of a dip which went over 2 miles under the ground here, with reportedly structures and weird man-made objects miles under the ground, like a whole civilization. Now, of course, they didn't find the film crew, they had the tape and they returned back home. The military personnel wanted to send this footage to TV companies to broad worldwide to say, what the hell is going on here? But then the government reportedly stepped in and said, no, don't need this, we're going to destroy the tape, no one needs to see that, there's nothing there. After a long time of legal battles though, the government did win and this was never broadcast, the tape was destroyed. In fact, a lot of people around the world claim this never existed and never was real, while a lot of other people claim that it was. So like, well, what's going on here? But there is still lawyers actively working on trying to get this footage actually released, almost like the files. But we have had evidence recently with LiDAR technology that there is something under Antarctica, evidence that it was actually a luscious green paradise, you know, centuries and centuries ago. It wasn't always frozen, there probably was life there. So maybe that's what they found and it's nothing really that crazy and we're just confirming our suspicions now. Or there is something a lot more abnormal going on there.
Now, do not get me wrong, I do believe that there is something at Antarctica, something that the governments just do not want us to know about. But is this a real story? I do not believe. I did a little bit of digging, and it turns out that this is a conspiracy theory based off of a 2014 fiction novel called Ninth Circle Antarctica by J.C. Ryan. And I mean, it's the same exact story. But again, I do believe that there is something unknown to us there at Antarctica. Let me know in the comments as what you believe it could be. Or do you believe that this book is possibly someone trying to tell true events?
Something's up and we got to talk about it. So Congress formally requested 46 specific UAP files from the Department of War. But before that process even appears fully complete, some of those same files, those videos, are allegedly already entering commercial distribution through a documentary that's supposed to stream on Amazon and Apple. The weird part about that isn't that the footage exists. I mean, the weird part is the order that this is happening in. So listen to this. On May 8th, Representative Anna Paulina Luna, she posted publicly on her X account. She said, "There will be more files released to include our request of the 40 plus files. I talked to the Pentagon last night." Think about that. She's still actively talking to the Pentagon about these exact videos 2 days ago. But reporting now confirms that at least 8 of these requested video files already appear in some sort of capacity inside Jeremy Corbell's new documentary, Sleeping Dog, that's supposed to start streaming tomorrow, May 12th. That's 3 days. So these aren't just vague, UFO clips with some sort of random nicknames. I mean, these carry official intelligence designations, right? FMV UAP, Anamorphous UAP, Formation UAP. These are some of the same names that appear directly on the congressional request list that Luna submitted. Now, Ross Coulthard has also publicly discussed these videos, including claims that some of them are allegedly extremely clear.
I'm certainly told that there are the 46 videos that have been requested by Representative Anna Paulina and the members of the UAP caucus. They've been demanding access to videos that the Pentagon's been sitting on for some time that have been described to us by multiple sources and multiple witnesses. All of the sources tell us that in some cases these are extraordinarily clear.
Now, whether or not Ross is right, I mean, that's almost beside the point. If these files are significant enough to be actively discussed between Congress and the Pentagon, why are clips tied to those same video files already entering commercial streaming? It doesn't make sense. I mean, that's the real question. Not because it proves aliens, not because it proves some sort of cover-up, but because sometimes the way that information gets released, it can tell you just as much as the information itself. Who gets access first? What gets delayed? What might not get released at all? I mean, those patterns matter. So Luna is still negotiating on May 8th. Some of those same video files are allegedly streaming on May 12th. That gap is 3 days. And whether that was intentional or not, I mean, that sequence may be giving us a rare public look at how this subject is actually handled behind the scenes.
It is very odd. Now, it is all alleged that these clips that we do not even have access to yet will be part of some documentary. That is a little suspicious if that comes to be. Now that it's out in the air, it may get changed up. We will see on that one. It really just makes it seem like it's all for advertisement and entertainment purposes, and also to keep us distracted and engaged with this entertainment. And now hearing about Japan doing the same thing definitely makes you wonder, hey, if you haven't done so already and if you're enjoying the show, give it a like. And if you're new to the channel, subscribe. I upload a video like this 2 times a day, Monday through Saturday, early in the morning and later in the afternoon. That would be 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time and 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And for everyone that's made it this far, thank you so much for supporting the channel.
So, some of the passengers from the Hantavirus cruise who are U.S. citizens are being taken or have been taken to a facility in Nebraska. Yeah, Nebraska, about as far away from a cruise ship as you can get. So the number of people who were on that cruise with U.S. citizenship that have been put into quarantine ranges anywhere from 11 to 15, depending on the article you read. But why did they get sent to Nebraska? Because Nebraska has a state-funded or federal-funded national quarantine unit. Yeah, a facility to basically quarantine people who have anything infectious. So in this article, it says 15 people have been sent to that quarantine unit in Nebraska, which includes a biocontainment center, so they can be observed to see if they have hantavirus or if it's spreading. The articles say it's a very specialized location in Nebraska, a very specific facility. Which if it's a quarantine unit, of course it is. So I'm guessing if someone was on that cruise ship and they were from the United States, and that there's some proof that they were exposed to hantavirus, they got sent to Nebraska. Okay, I just wanted to keep you updated, Booshkis.
Not only did they take some of them to Nebraska, they also took some of them to Atlanta as well. So they have it stretched across America. They're saying that public risk is very low and that we really should not have anything to worry about. Now I'm just waiting to hear on the news that they had a vial of this hantavirus for research purposes and it somehow ended up going missing or it was stolen. But let's hope the best for the people that are here and that are recovering.
From the discovery of a hidden mass on the moon, the Department of War's new UFO vault, and the discovery of hidden structures beneath the Pyramid of Giza, this weekend had it all. So welcome to Yes or Strange, the daily series where I show you the strangest news from yesterday. New data published in the Scientific Advances on May 10th reveals that the moon's largest crater impact, the South Pole Aitken Basin, is hiding a massive anomaly beneath the surface. And it's not just a hole in the ground. There is a dense, unexplained mass lodged hundreds of miles down. NASA's Artemis mission is now redirecting and being recalibrated to investigate this specific location. So we're finding that the moon is not just a dead rock like we've been led to believe, but a system with secrets buried deep in its core. That is, if space isn't fake. Next story. The Department of War's new public portal for UAP encounters was hit by 340 million visitors in the first 12 hours. This shows a deep public curiosity in the subject, or even more so, it's a systemic hunger for the truth. The release included dozens of videos and Apollo mission transcripts that were previously classified. And while the media is focusing on the unexplained labels, the real story is the volume of data being pushed into the public square all at once. Kind of feels similar to that 3.5 million document dump, doesn't it? But at the very least, the system is finally being forced to acknowledge that there are vehicles or objects performing maneuvers that break our current understanding of physics. And the data is live right now on war.gov/UFO. Check it out for yourself. And our next story takes us to Egypt, where a satellite radar study released on May 9th revealed vast hidden structures lying deep beneath the Great Pyramids of Giza. We've been told for centuries that we understood the layout of this monument. We had it all, we knew what it was. But the data is now challenging the most guarded secrets of archaeology. And these aren't just small voids that the radar is picking up. The radar indicates a massive subterranean complex that has never been entered before. And this proves that the ancient architecture was far more extensive than the tomb narrative suggests. We are looking at a hidden system designed to remain visible to the surface world, and we are just beginning to discover it. And lastly, a declassified FBI memo from October 19th, 1966 was just unsealed as part of the Pursue initiative. It details reports of 4-foot-tall beings emerging from a UFO in the San Francisco area. And these aren't just rumors. These are internal field reports that were buried for over 60 years. The descriptions of their suits and their behavior suggest a highly mechanical, non-human social order. Something very strange is definitely going on. And why was this kept from the public until May 10th, 2026? It shows that the high strangeness we discussed today has been part of the systemic record for decades. And that about wraps up today's Yes or Strange report. If you enjoyed it and other conspiracy theory content, make sure you give me a follow.
There is no sane way to say this, and I'm going to sound crazy, but it makes sense in my head. But I genuinely believe that from once 2019 finished and we entered 2020, it feels like somebody replaced the bulb in the sun, and instead of it being a soft, warm yellow, they've replaced it with a white LED. I know that sounds cooked, right? I'm not saying literal, but that's how it feels. That's when so many people say dude, things just feel different. That's the only way I can explain it.
I've worked outside quite a bit majority of my life, and I have to admit, I would say before 2019, probably around 2016, is when the sun started to change from a warm color to the LED blinding white color that it is now. It really does seem like that to me. Now, maybe it's because I'm getting older and my eyes just aren't as good as they used to be. Things are less vibrant and are just more contrast heavy maybe. But with everyone saying it, seems like something might be up. Let me know your thoughts and opinions on this one.
You can model a brain using physical reservoir computing, and if you can model a brain, you can make one that is mentally ill, and believe it or not, there's a reason we might want mentally ill AI, and we will talk about it. This is one of my favorite areas of computation. You can also model our brains using a digital system in which the spiking patterns in our own brain create logic, and that is remarkably compatible with physical reservoir computing. It is also a two-way street because you can take those modeled spiking patterns and use that to communicate with real neurons. This is remarkably helpful when it comes to things like occupational therapy, or if you really want to make a sentient machine for some reason. Now, when it comes to the patterns in our own brain, researchers have found unique patterns in brain activity that are consistent across patients with different conditions like bipolar or schizophrenia. Patients who were diagnosed with the condition or potentially had it were given EEG caps, and their brain activity was measured over time, and yes, they found consistencies between patients. Now, this paper is really interesting for a variety of reasons, one of which is that it gives us some objective measure to diagnose psychiatric conditions and potentially figure out how to treat them. Given that different forms of depression have unique signatures, there may be a point in which you go to see your doctor and they put an EEG cap on you and say, hey, you seem kinda depressed. It allows our internal states to be external, but it also allows for programming for computers and physical reservoirs. Now you might ask, why would we want an AI to display mental illness? Isn't that a little counterproductive? Well, there actually are quite a few uses for it. This gives a model for researchers to work with that isn't human. And no, it's not perfect, but it will have a lot less variability than individuals. Yes, there are drawbacks. But when it comes to experimentation, it's usually better not to work with an actual person if you might do harm. It also helps us understand these conditions. Now remember, a physical reservoir is not an LLM, although LLMs have already displayed some interesting mental illness. This study was actually looking at whether or not an LLM could reliably replicate mental illness, and yeah, it did it pretty well. And because LLMs need to be everywhere, this can also be used for the medical field, especially with students learning to work with patients. AIs can also quite frequently display delusions, losing touch with reality, which is why symbolic reasoning is so important and why companies like Anthropic are trying to make AIs that actually understand the world. Some people think that may never happen, but I'm not so convinced we won't get there.
I personally do not believe that we need mentally ill AI. I mean, that's how we're going to end up getting a Bender from Futurama. I think some people would actually enjoy that.
White House correspondent dinner. This seemed like MK Ultra. He rushed past security. They shot like 9 times, missed him. The man's name is Cole Allen. Well, here's some really weird connections. He's a teacher.
Oh my word.
But if you go on his LinkedIn, he worked at a facility known as NASA in the Jet Propulsion Laboratory.
Shut the
What?
You're lying.
In 2014, there is a X account, Henry Martinez. He created one single post in 2023.
Okay.
The post just says Cole Allen. It's his only post. Henry Martinez also worked at NASA in the Jet Propulsion Laboratory.
The same time? Wacky coincidence.
It's a banner above his profile picture is this picture. Reverse it.
Nuh-uh.
I
There's
can't really
no
see it.
way.
I'm freaking out a little bit.
And that's the only tweet, and it was from 2023.
Did you see how Trump, his plans for the ballroom got squashed? This is the alleged reason that this happened. If this is all
I
staged,
see.
he was told by a judge, you cannot use national security to do whatever you want with the ballroom. So literally he threw a ball. Well, now he's made it a national security issue.
At the press conference afterwards, he's like, this is why we need a new ballroom.
Yeah.
This night vision clip just broke the internet because it's not a triangle, it's a floating pyramid. On December 28th, 2025, at exactly 8:04 PM, a skywatcher on Sonoma, California, named Big Daddy 1989, was out with his PVS-14 military-grade night vision. And this was hooked up to his iPhone, and this wasn't his first time seeing this object. He caught a similar object with his eyes through the tube before, but this night he had a camera rolling. It was facing northeast, and the object was heading northwest. No sound, no blinking navigation lights, just this. Most people are saying this is a triangle with 3 lights, but if you slow it down and zoom in, you'll see something incredible. There's a 4th light above the 3, turning this flat triangle into a 3rd-dimensional pyramid, a tetrahedron floating through the night sky. And look at how the light sits, one on each corner, and the top one giving it real depth. It's not flat, and it has volume, and it moves with purpose. It's quick, silent, pretty graceful, and no visible propulsion, just pure mystery cutting through the stars. This thing was captured in the last 8 to 10 seconds of his skywatching session, and other planes were visible that night, but they had strobes, navigation lights, and engine noise, and this thing, nothing, just a dark pyramid shaped with a dim, steady light gliding by. And pyramid-shaped craft have been reported for decades, from the famous Navy Pyramid UAPs to the Black Triangle sightings worldwide, and the Penturk UFOs with Kaz Clark. Now this captured on a high-end night vision by someone who has seen it twice. Is this advanced human tech or something maybe not from here? The pyramid-shaped UFO strike once again, and those people that actually have close endeavours with these objects in question seem to report either euphoric experiences or very peaceful ones at that. So could this be something from beyond this physical plane? I mean, that object looked like it was flying at some incredible speeds and very strangely shaped too. And this is something which is spotted around the world. Could it be reverse engineered tech, or could this be something from a higher dimension that we just don't really understand?
I think it could be a little bit of all of the above as to what it could be. It could possibly be a man-made craft that we just simply do not understand because it's never been revealed to us. But it looks very extraterrestrial by design. It also could be extraterrestrial extraterrestrial. I personally land more on the it's a man-made object and we're just completely unaware as to what it is. It could very well still be some kind of advanced technology that's been reverse engineered or restored back to functioning order. And let's not forget that it could also possibly be fallen angels. That's something that's being brought up more and more on the subject. Let me know what you guys think.
The following video is truly disturbing. This was captured by a witness with the handle name of Count My Pockets out of Raleigh, North Carolina. He looked over when he saw this unidentified person glitching, is basically what he states. But if you look closely, look at his facial features and look at his eyes, it literally looks like he's glitching. And no, I don't think this is drugs. And I've seen this before, but only in a movie, Encounters of the Third Kind, when all of those people are looking up at the spaceship and they're being communicated with. And they have the same look, what appears to be glitching. So what's really going on here? Should we be worried? Should we be questioning? Or should we just make excuses on what witnesses are capturing? Comment below. Let me know what you think.
All seriousness, that could be some form of seizure, maybe even a stroke. But I see he's standing out of a tobacco and vape store, so maybe he got like a pendulum and he couldn't handle the strain. But really though, you might want to get that checked out.
When I was getting into Henry Stevens' books with the flying saucers, they were talking about uranium and radium, and that was the key to free energy. And same with the bells that the Germans did in 1933. Those bells had uranium and radium and mercury in them. And I've done videos showing where you take mercury, you spin it in a circle, and you get voltage. So if you have a bell, so this is crazy to really think about, you got a bell and it is hit, and that mercury that's in there, there's cylinders of mercury that begin to spin, think of how much voltage is created. Then you have uranium and radium, which collects electricity from the air, that's the beautiful part of it, plus the mercury, and you have unlimited energy. And that's the thing, the Rockefellers did not like what Germany was doing because they're separating themselves from the oil industry and then separating themselves from the banking industry. And any country who goes against both sectors is targeted. And that's what we see today with Iran too. They don't want to play ball with the banking system or the oil system, and they see this, and so it's a threat.
I've met a lot of people who are very angry, but when you mention that they're angry, which you think is obvious, they're obviously angry, they're like, I'm not angry. What are you talking about? I'm not bitter. I'm not jaded. I'm not full of rage. I don't understand why people lie about that. Are you moralizing these emotions? Do you think it's a bad thing to be angry? I think it's bad to be full of rage. Do you think it signals or telegraphs something negative? Because your lying to yourself has you convinced that you can pull that lie off with the world, but the world can feel. They can see, people notice that you're gritting your teeth. People can feel the tenseness in your body when you do that. People can feel what's simmering right under the surface. Why is it so hard for us to just be honest about whatever we're experiencing? Just be honest about the truth of what's going on. Why is that so hard? I get angry often. I'm a spiritual healer. I'm a spiritual leader. I'm so good at what I do. I'm a wise person. I'm well regulated, and I still get really angry, and I have no problem saying it. If I'm full of rage, I have no problem owning it because I understand that these are system states. These are not things to moralize. If I'm angry or if I'm enraged, my system is trying to communicate something with force. With force, it's trying to communicate. Danger, danger, something wrong, system requirements not met, breach of boundaries, something's happening. My alarm systems are going off, and some of you would rather pretend that nothing's happening than address what's going on. I don't get it. I honestly don't. As someone who's so kind of radically authentic, as someone who leads a community and teaches people to also stand in their authenticity, I don't know if you guys realize what that does, but let me tell you, your bracing around that anger, around that rage to try to hide it from other people has you bracing from receiving anything that might soothe that too. Right? So I was just having a conversation with someone who really believes that they don't belong in the world. And so they're angry, they're bitter, and they turn into a very cruel person, but they don't realize it. They don't realize it. They think that they're hiding it so well. They think that they're masking really well, and they're not. So when I was talking to them, I was like, I know you think you don't belong. They were like, no, it's obvious I don't belong. No, it's not obvious, because I can pull up many examples of belonging, but you are committed to the train of thought that allows you to justify holding on to that anger and that rage. So you're going to dismiss any evidence that counters it as not being important, as being a fluke, as being something that's easily dismissed. But you're the one dismissing it. You're the one who won't let yourself receive it, because you can't hold anger and be open to love simultaneously. The muscles that you use to brace around that anger, to hold and maintain it, and the muscles that you need to use to receive love, they're opposed to one another. You're not doing both. So what's crazy is that the very medicine that you need is the very medicine you will not allow yourself to receive until you can get honest about how you're actually feeling and the state of your system, and have some integrity around that. If you're angry, that's data. That's crucial data. Pretending that you're not angry when you are is crazy to me. But then you guys go to the other side. And you're like, I'm angry, so I'm going to overexpress everything with force when I'm angry, right? No, that's not it either. That's not it either. Admitting and owning your feelings with integrity is not taking them out on everyone. It's not overly expressing them all over the place. That's not the counter to it. I see people embody those two. Either we're pretending we're not angry, or we're wearing our anger like a costume, and everyone's going to hear about it. There's something in the middle, and it's called balance. It's called an honest state of being, right? We all get angry at times. We all feel rage at times. We all experience these things, right? So we need to ask why we're experiencing this and address it. If we're experiencing anger because we've been disrespected, we might need to express something to that person, or we just might need to take space away from that person. Right? But staying in that place and pretending not to be angry is you betraying your nervous system. And as long as you keep doing that, it will never trust you.
I see no purpose on being angry, or at least bottling up anger. I've never had a problem expressing it, but I do understand that there's a lot of people, myself included, that was raised being told, hey, bottle up those emotions, whether that be you're sad, mad, you were told to deal with it. You'll get over it. And a majority of us did that, and it can get very unhealthy, because you should not be bottling up rage or certain type of emotions. That's what makes that explosiveness. But yes, I agree. Being open, being balanced with oneself is not a bad thing. And I do believe that there's a lot of people that have a lot of anger inside them that will not admit that they're angry, because majority of their life they were just told to suck it up. And I really think that that's what the ultimate problem is with that.
What happened to this man is probably the worst thing that could ever happen to you. This is known as the 1,000-yard stare, and yes, all of these photos are 100% real. Most of the photos coming from World War I, II, and the Vietnam War, but there is a lot more recent examples of this as well. It's known as the 1,000-yard stare because of what the eyes are saying, the story they tell. It's also a form of shell shock, you may have heard that term before. What causes this is by seeing something very sudden and very traumatic, obviously like you would in war. Essentially being in an emotional shock that puts your body into this constant state of horror where you can barely even function. I'm sure you've all heard stories as well from back in the war how shell shock victims were actually treated so badly we didn't really know anything about it. We barely knew anything about mental health and how to treat people anyway. Now luckily nowadays there is a lot more treatment for people that do experience this and they can get what they need, but it is still absolutely horrendous and can leave people in states like this without the proper treatment. It can even lead to extreme cases of paralysis and many other horrendous things that come as a side effect. So if you ever see a video or a photo of someone looking like this, just imagine what they've actually been through.
Most people get shocked when I tell them this, but did you know that Pfizer makes 90% of the cheese in the United States? Cheese is one of the most consumed foods in the world, especially in the US. So if you control cheese, you control a massive part of the food supply. And Pfizer quietly sits in the middle of it. To make cheese, you need just 4 ingredients: milk, salt, cultures, and rennet. And guess who took over the rennet industry? Pfizer. About 90% of all cheese in North America uses a genetically modified version of rennet produced by Pfizer. Real rennet comes from calf stomachs. Pfizer's version is made by inserting cow genes into genetically modified fungus. And then we wonder why half of America can't tolerate dairy. Digestive issues, inflammation, hormone problems. Meanwhile, countries that use traditional rennet like Italy don't have these problems. So the next time you go to the grocery store, look for traditional European cheeses.
Now, to be clear, Pfizer themselves do not make the cheese. But in 1990, they did develop the FPC, which is basically the lab-made enzyme. And ever since then, it has been used. But Pfizer themselves has no hand in making the cheese. They just supplied a product that replaced a natural supply. If you're not getting locally made cheese, I would highly recommend the French Pantry. It's a website where you can actually buy blocks of cheese at an expensive and or an affordable rate depending on how you look at it. Like, you may pay $20, even a little bit more than that, for a cheese wheel that's like this big around and that's that thick. And you're not just going to be eating it all in one sitting like you can with an American cheese, because the flavor is just so intense that you will have enough after just a few good bites. If you like cheese, I do highly recommend the French Pantry. Though keep in mind, some of their cheese can get very expensive. But I would say for very good cheese, $20 for a little wheel actually is not that bad, and it will last you a while. Not sponsored, by the way. I just enjoy cheese.
I feel happy. I feel healthy. I'm a human being.
Same here, man. Same here. Alright guys, I'm going to go ahead and end today's video. As always, I want to thank you guys for watching these clips with me. If today's your birthday, happy birthday, and if not, have a good day anyways.